Hi there, I'm Mike Creavey for Homeschool Connections, and with me today is Homeschool Connections instructor, Dr. Kerrie Berends. Kerrie, how are you doing? Thanks for joining me
I'm
today.
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we were just saying, I think we did this a couple years ago, and it's hard to believe that here we are, already have some new updates, some new course stuff to talk about. But before we get into that, why don't you just share with anyone who's not familiar a little bit about your own background, kind of how you came to Homeschool Connections?
Sure. I'm currently a full-time university professor in Michigan. I have three children that I homeschooled, two all the way through, and then my daughter up to mid-high school. They're all adults now. And I came through Homeschool Connections actually through my sister, who is actually a creator and a teacher through Homeschool
Okay.
Connections. And she knew that I had some knowledge in some areas that some courses were needed. So my expertise and background is in kinesiology, exercise science, nutrition. And I also teach self-defense at the college level. And that's a course that I'm currently teaching this summer, and we'll go into our recorded courses soon.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Well, let me just ask you, because sometimes I'll ask this question for some of our instructors. It kind of depends on what the subject matter is in some cases. So, what do you find are some of the challenges maybe versus some of the opportunities in an online setting for some of those particular areas?
Sure. I get this question all the time because I'm actually
Yeah.
the program director at the university level for our master's in exercise science. And people say,
Oh,
how can
okay.
you teach exercise online? My courses are very hands-on courses. They're very project-based. There's the homework is doing. And
Mhm.
so the nutrition course is about kind of analyzing the types of foods that you tend to purchase and eat. And my exercise courses are the students need to actually go and do different types like flexibility, cardiorespiratory strength, and then in my personal safety and situational awareness, there are many checklists and role playing activities that they can do. So
Okay.
that's one way that I teach my subject matters because they are actually very skills type
Sure.
subjects. There's homework where the students are actually doing a lot of activities to create some skills, not just knowledge.
Sure. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Is there anything in particular about the course you have, kind of on the horizon here coming up, that you're really looking forward to, things that students and families can really be particularly excited for and to learn?
Yes, I'm so excited to teach this class because I teach women's self-defense at the college level. And because my class is so popular, it always fills up. And seniors and juniors in college get priority registration, which means that girls don't get the class until they are, near
Right, right,
graduation.
right.
I feel like this is a subject matter that young women should address before they go to college or before they're out on their own. And so I'm super excited about this course because it's teaching personal safety and situational awareness for young women so that they can develop these skills and kind of manipulate how they live their lives in a way that keeps them the safest prior
Sure.
to independence, like driving on their own or going away to college. So I'm really
Right.
passionate about that. I couple with campus safety in my other job. And so I've learned a lot about the different tools and techniques that people can put into play to keep themselves safe. And I'm pretty
Sure.
passionate as a mom of a young woman myself.
Yeah, well, we have a couple young ones. Our oldest is 8, and we have two girls, so like that's already on my radar. And as an old army guy myself, I was never, super, what's what I'm looking for?
Comfortable?
Well, and I was never like, some martial arts expert or something like
Oh,
that, but
yeah.
like just even the basic, like you said, situational awareness. Because I even remember in college there was a string of muggings and some things that had happened where I was going to
Mhm.
college, and what I found was interesting was, that every single one, this was like my junior year, and it was in the spring. Every single one of the reports that campus security put out, when you really dug into it, the person who had been assaulted had been completely like earphones or absorbed, or they weren't
Exactly.
generally kind of aware of what was going on. And it's amazing how much, I'm sure you teach this, right, how
Mhm.
much
I do.
we can avoid, perhaps maybe talk about that just by being more aware of our surroundings.
Right. I teach the girls, you're never at fault if something does happen, but
Right.
there are things that you can do, and you should have a healthy fear. So I do an
Mm.
analogy in the class where I talk about I used to own a horse. And people say, well, they're kid safe horses or they're bomb proof horses or husband safe horses, as they call them. No horse is completely safe. But
Right.
there are behaviors you do around them to keep yourself safe. You don't walk around the back of them without touching them. You don't crawl under a horse. there are certain things. It doesn't mean you should be fearful of that and avoid being around them, but there are certain behaviors that you can do to make yourself in a safer situation. So that's an
Sure.
analogy I like to use, is that, if we're going to be out and about, there are things that we can do throughout our day to create a safer situation where we have heightened awareness. Perhaps we're getting in the habits of like locking our doors and letting people know where we are, checking in, having emergency contacts on our phone. I mean, the list goes on and on that's
Yeah.
included in this course of things that people can do that are preventative in nature that put us in a safer place.
Well, and I think one of the nicest sort of, I don't know if side effect is the right way to put it, but there is, of course, that defensive aspect, of course, of all of this, and for our own safety and the safety of our kids. But also, I think I'm sure you've seen this too, that you get just a lot, your life gets more enriched, I think, in so many ways when you're just generally more aware of what's going on around you. So it's not all
It's not.
negative, of course, either.
Yeah, we talk about,
Yeah.
your head up and on a swivel. And
Yeah.
that just basically means, and that's a term that's used a lot in safety. It means get your head out of your phone or whatever you're doing. Make sure your eyes are up and your head's back and forth. And, just simple things like always knowing when you enter a building, where are my exits?
Hmm.
Just little habits every day that you put into place. So that's what I'm really excited about doing, is creating ways for these young girls to start habits now, so that throughout their life, they're able to go about being confident that they are able to make decisions quickly and be able to have their own voice and to have some assertiveness and confidence in their own personal safety.
Sure. Well, that's wonderful. And let me just ask you, because you've already shared quite a bit about some of the hands-on stuff in class. I normally ask about that. Is there anything? This is always a fun one to ask. Anything intriguing or interesting or unknown maybe about you, but someone that just reading your biography on Homeschool Connections might not know?
Yeah. So because of this, my background in safety, 6 years ago, the university paid for me to get certified as what we call a RAD instructor. It's an actual system called rape aggression defense.
Hmm.
And the interesting thing is, anybody who takes my class at the college level, once I signed their book that they took my class through the system, this is a system of self-defense that's taught all over the country. And once you take the class one time, you can go to refresher courses for the rest of your life for free.
Oh, wow.
So I'm kind of excited that I'm a certified instructor.
Yes. Oh,
Um,
that's awesome.
so that's one fun fact that a lot of people don't realize, that and I don't have, a black belt and anything. And, but I've been through the training, which was,
Yeah.
17 hours of training and a very extensive physical and written test. So that's fun that I have that certification.
Yes. Well, absolutely. Well, and we definitely hope people, get in touch with you. What's the best way for students to learn more about the courses, families to get in touch with you? Any suggestions?
Sure. So you can, of course, go on to the Homeschool Connections and look in the catalog. I have 3 recorded courses right now. So there's personal fitness, personal nutrition. Those are both available for high school health credits, as well as the self-defense one will be ready this fall. And then I have a summer course that became recorded. It's all on sports and recreation activities. So if somebody wants to learn about ultimate frisbee, kayaking, pickleball, all the different types of things people can do for recreation. All 4 of those courses, 3 are available now, and all 4 will be available through the catalog. If they have any questions about them, they can get a hold of me at my email that I use for all of my Homeschool Connections, which is my personal one. And it's easy because it's
Hmm.
kerrie.berends@gmail.com. So just my
Wonderful.
name with a dot in the middle at Gmail.
Wonderful. Well, Dr. Kerrie Berends, thank you again so much for stopping by, sharing about these Homeschool Connections courses, opportunities. We hope definitely people will get in touch with you.
Thank you so much.
All right. God bless.
Bye-bye.